Okay.
All right, so we're live. So hi everybody, welcome to Sparrow review and Toucan planning. Toucan is a 2.3 release of ONOS. This is a public and recording meeting, so keep that in mind. So the general idea here is to review the Sparrow release accomplishments and then to review the proposed Toucan release deliverables. Just as a reminder, this is a rough schedule. I think this is just my first kind of a take on the schedule. I welcome any revisions, maybe 1 or 2 week shifts if necessary, if that conflicts with other things. The dates will be entered into the ONOS calendar. They're not entered there just yet because I wanted to get some feedback first. My thought was to release mid-January or towards the end of January, and we would freeze in the beginning of January and then have a review midway through November. Anyway, that's just kind of a sketch. The thought here is to, even though this strictly does not fall into the payload of the 2.3 release, there is some maintenance work that needs to be done on 1.15 long-term support release, as well as work to be done on continuing to bootstrap the micro ONOS effort. So the idea here is that we would release 1.15 with new JDK and other built infrastructure upgrades, which we will talk about later. And then, maintain just in general the third-party dependencies with up-to-date versions on the 2.3. I don't think there are any major features that will go into 2.3. This is just a maintenance release. Clearly, with most of the effort would be then dedicated towards the micro ONOS project, specifically to be able to finish the ONOS configuration implementation and then to formalize the designs of the other subsystems so that they can also kick off their own implementations. And then, as part of the micro ONOS 2, in a run-up to the ONF Connect, we've, took on some technical debt in form of reduced coverage. So the idea is to improve that, is to also improve the unit test harnesses and so that we can bump up the coverage in general. And then the idea is also to refactor some of the duplicated code in the various repos into its own. So there will be just general restructuring as part of the micro ONOS project as well.
I'm sorry, Thomas. I put a typo in there on you. I'm sorry. It's actually supposed to be improve the integration test harness and test coverage.
Yeah, you're right. Right, the ONIT, the ONOS integration test harness.
Yeah, that's my fault. Sorry.
No, it's all right. Anyway, so let's move on with kind of more detailed dived into some of the individual areas, starting with the core and platform. Ray and Jordan, do you guys want to take that?
Sure. Carmelo did most of the work, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Carmelo too. Yeah.
Carmelo's on the train. I don't think he's in a position to talk, so I'll just talk through this slide then. So, we've been getting a lot of negative feedback about, what's going to happen when Oracle decides to license the JDK. So, Carmelo took on the task of trying to get everything to build with the internal JDK that's provided as part of Bazel, and to also change the images such that when we build our Dockers, we're using those same JDKs. So that was quite a bit of work. When 2.2 went out, it's now fully JDK 11 compatible. There was a minor upgrade to Apache Carafe in an effort to keep our LTSs in line with the tools we use. We upgraded that. We're trying to keep up with Bazel as best we can. We kind of made the cutoff point for 2.2 at 0.27 that required a little bit of change to some of our Bazel files.
All right. So there was also one core feature that was added by an independent contributor, specifically Nikolai Marinov from Inango Systems. They added ability to separate and give prioritized treatment to certain packet-ins. So this is to avoid having certain control packets stuck behind a long queue of other lower priority packets. And so this was actually a fairly long contribution process. I think lasted maybe like 3 months or so. But it was definitely well worth the effort, and we welcome the contribution from Nikolai. It actually managed to also improve our C-bench numbers by some percentage, I believe somewhere around 10% or so. Anyway, so that's it seems subtle, but it's actually fairly big change, because the packet in processing pipeline is actually integral to the control subsystems. On the UI side, Sean, do you want to take that?
Yeah, so in Sparrow it was pretty minimal. Andrea did some work on the ROADM GUI, but there was very little done in Sparrow because of the focus on micro ONOS.
All right, thank you. All right, so on deliverables, do you want to, while you have the mic, do you want to talk, Sean, on the UI?
Yeah.
And I can.
So actually, maybe just go to the separate slide on it. So yeah, I just put together a slide about the what needs to be done. I think it is worth fixing a lot of these gaps in GUI 2, because they will be transferable, to micro ONOS whenever we move control to there. So, I think one of the things I'd like to see is that we'd be able to run demos and tutorials with GUI 2 exclusively, and start the wind down of the legacy GUI, since really it hasn't changed in a very long time. There's a couple of minor things there. There's the topology view probably needs some updates. We talked about the pipeconf views missing from it. Any other GUIs in the apps folder probably need to be ported over as well, and there are a bunch of defects listed at that URL, and also there's a need to upgrade the third-party tools like Angular 9, and which is coming out in November. So I think it's probably best to take that one, and Node.js. There's probably not much point going into further detail than that, but definitely if there were people able to contribute to the effort, it would really help a lot.
Yep, for sure. And just a quick clarification on the upgrade to Angular 9 and Node.js 12. That should be a reasonably incremental change, right? Because there's no significant architectural jumps, right?
Yeah, hopefully. Angular 9 uses a different compiler, so maybe it might throw up errors, but we can revert back to the previous compiler if it creates a problem for us.
Got it. Okay. Thanks, Sean. I'm going to return back. Go ahead, Jordan.
So there's one thing that I added to the wrong place that I just added to this slide. I think we need to update the Helm charts for. There you go. I think we need to update the Helm charts for classic ONOS to ensure that it works inside Kubernetes with micro ONOS.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a good idea. Because as we are seeing, at least from the traffic on the mailing list, that more and more people are basically running ONOS under Kubernetes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the easier we make it for them, the better, for sure. All right. So So that's the core and platform. As you can see, it's fairly Spartan, but I think it'll still be important improvements. On the Stratum side, we don't have anybody here representing Stratum. Ms. Carmelo can talk to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Carmelo?
can. All right, cool.
Okay, yeah, sorry. So there's not many updates with respect to the last milestone review. I mean, we already talked about the fabric.p4 improvements. We improved the pipeline to add new capabilities like support for a PPOE-based termination for BNG offloading, and this was demonstrated at Connect. And also other features like support for cloning packets from the pipeline and to be delivered using different time packetings using clone sessions. And also we now have some the unit tests, data plane unit tests fabric.p4 are executed continuously using Travis CI on BNB2. We have a new Stratum, a new driver in ONOS for the Stratum version that runs on fixed function pipelines, like Broadcom Tomahawk. The name of the driver is Stratum FPM. We did a demo at Connect 19 in which we had a set of ONOS applications control the fabric of switches with silicon from different vendors, like Tofino and Tomahawk. All the code is available at the repository linked in the slides. I think it's a good example for anyone that wants to use ONOS with real hardware, Stratum hardware switches from different vendors. And finally, in this release, we spent some time transitioning the development environment from being based on virtual machines to Docker. So there is a number of Docker images that can be used to run containers, for example, to run Mininet with Stratum BNB2, run the P4C compiler for BNB2. There's a duplicate here. And also to run tests for fabric.p4. I don't know if there's any questions on the accomplishments. If not, we can move on. Okay, in terms of deliverables for Toucan, sorry about the noise. I just got off the train. In terms of deliverables for the Toucan release, the goal is to essentially maintain and improve the South one, including P4 runtime, fabric.p4, GNMI, and GNOI, with the idea of supporting use cases mainly like Trellis and the C by BNG offloading use case. I didn't put any milestone in the slide because at this stage it's not clear what we'll be able to demonstrate, but we can come up with something once the milestone approaches, the milestone review approaches.
That's great. Thank you, Carmelo. Yeah, and I can personally attest to the ease, with which one can use the PI abstraction for developing an application. Without any prior experience in that area, I was able to put together a quick demo application for the micro ONOS demo at the Connect. So it was an excellent job.
That's great.
All right, so next we already covered the UI. So let's move to the QA for Sparrow accomplishments.
Okay, for QA, most of the work goes to the improvements of the automation, and that's mostly done by Jeremy. So first we have Jenkins jobs to automatically create wiki pages for system test results. We are able to create all the wiki pages for all test suites when we have a new release. And there's also a test schedules wiki page, which is automatically refreshed whenever we change the test schedule. Then we did a major refactoring of the test non-Jenkins pipelines, and now we have more flexibility in changing nightly test results, test schedules, and also triggering tests. Basically, we are able to to run any combination of like test names, test branch, the node that the test is going to run on, and everything. Yeah. Previously, a lot of these are hard coded, and we had a lot of limitations. Like we can only run some tests on some nodes, something like that. Now we have more flexibility, and also this scheduling system is also working for non-tests. Basically, although the Jenkins files are in the test.on code base, but it's actually kind of a separated system. So potentially, we could also use it for micro-ONOS testing if needed. Then, besides the improvements of functionality, we also did some cleanup and restructure of the Jenkins file code, and also updated README to make it more easier to more readable. And also, since we are still testing 1.15, we need to run different Bazel version and also Java version, and that's also part of the automation. Okay. Next slide for the deliverables of Toucan. We don't have any new work planned here. I think we'll basically just run and monitor existing tests for any bugs. I guess the QA team is going to move the focus on the micro-ONOS.
That makes sense.
Okay, that's it.
All right, thank you, Yuan. So I think that's it because we don't have any demos registered. I suppose plenty of demos were given at the ONF Connect. So I think everybody is
a little demoed out.
Yeah, definitely that. Everybody's demolished. And so we must skip it this time. So anyway, I suspect that as details, as details emerge more on some of the micro-ONOS planning, we will be reviewing those in a TST meeting throughout the release. So if there is any listeners out there who are eager to engage with the micro-ONOS project, I would highly recommend joining the TST meetings because they kind of take the place of the periodic sprint meetings as well. So we use those for running ongoing demos and updates of the progress. Anyhow, I think that's it. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thomas?
Yes?
This is Carmelo. I have a quick question, maybe not so quick, hopefully. It seems that most of the deliverables for the next release are, people maintaining the work. Because of this, do we plan to cut a release in 4 months in January? Because it seems most of this could be, bug fixes for the current release, which is 2.2 Sparrow. And given that we said previously this should be an LTS release, I mean, how do you see the release cycle going forward? It seems things are getting quieter in the ONOS Classic side. Do you still see this 4 months release cycles?
Well, so it's an excellent question, and I actually toyed with pushing our cycles to be 6 months, but I didn't want to do that unilaterally. I have a feeling that may happen naturally as more of the micro-ONOS effort intensifies.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely, I think we should consider making 2.2 an LTS release.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't officially done that, but we've stated the intent to do it. But given kind of the planned payload for 2.3, that it's fairly, sparse. I mean, it's a good question. A lot of that work could really happen under 2.2, right?
I mean, it seems that most of the deliverables should really be cherry-picked to the...
Yeah, I would agree. Well, for sure, I think the upgrade to Bazel 1.0 should definitely be cherry-picked. There's no question in my mind. Also seems like a lot of the GUI gaps are they're almost less new features. They're more like fixing the deficiencies, right? Missing functionality. So I agree with you that most of the work should be cherry-picked onto 2.2. But I think in order to allow community to proceed introducing their own features and without us having to worry about impacting the stability of 2.2, the default should still be to do the development on 2.3 and then cherry pick back those things that we want to 2.2.
Yeah, I'm a little more concerned. I think you're right. I think the Bazel upgrades and whatever P4 stuff we talked about yesterday, I think that's good to go on to too. I'm a little more worried about the upgrade to the JDK just because that causes operational problems for people. Anyone who's running 1.15 now, if they just naively take 1.15.1, maybe it doesn't work anymore because JDKs are different and whatever. So that part of it, I think we may want to keep into it.
Oh yeah, so sorry, I wasn't at all talking about 1.15. I was mostly talking about 2.2 versus 2.3.
Yeah.
So
2.2 already has the new JDK, so that's not a problem.
Exactly, but it doesn't have 1.0 Bazel, right? And once Bazel comes out, I think we ought to backport it onto 2.2.
I think you're right.
I think what we discussed for 1.15, at least Ray and I yesterday, that would be nice to use Bazel 1.0 for 1.15 as in the slide, and we could take the same approach where we build 1.15 using the embedded JDK8.
Exactly.
Bazel,
which is the corrector, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I exactly. But to answer your question, which I think was aimed primarily at 2.2 versus 2.3, yeah. So let's we can certainly schedule a discussion for TST whether or not we ought to move to 6 months releases on the ONOS Classic side. I also wanted to get some feedback from Guru and others, what they think about this. Simply haven't had a chance to do that. So I didn't want to move us out from 4-month cycles to 6 month cycles unilaterally.
Okay. Makes sense.
But I definitely think that if he release at January, then I think beyond that we could start moving to 6 months releases, and by the time we will have had plenty of discussion to vet it with the whole community.
Okay.
Because I think there will also be some requirements for scheduling work into the release release of ONOS Classic to make sure that things gel really well. So, for example, with micro ONOS, for example, we've given a demo of micro ONOS at the ON.Lab Connect, but that featured heavily ONOS Classic on the control side. And I think that's what we ought to continue to enable nice and smooth, because at least based on discussions with people at the, in the demo booth, people were definitely eager to be able to use micro ONOS alongside ONOS Classic because of existing applications developed for ONOS Classic, and they were not necessarily willing to, they were concerned about kind of continuous upgrade path.
Yeah, I was going to mention this actually. At some point, we might want to upgrade Atomics so that micro ONOS and classic ONOS are using the same version of it, so they can use the same cluster inside of Kubernetes, but I don't think we're quite there yet. But it would be nice to do that after an LTS release. I don't want that going
So if we designate 2.2 to be that, then 2.3 could be
Yeah.
released with such a property, right?
Yeah, that would be good.
And hopefully that answers your question, Carmelo.
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much.
And so I'll put it on the agenda for the Guru Stav and the TLT. The TLT leadership. From the board to see what if there would be any objections towards moving towards 6-month cycles.
That's good.
All right. So did anybody have any other questions, comments, suggestions? No, then I think we can call it a day, and let's have a good release. I'll enter those proposed dates for milestones and release and code freeze on the calendar very shortly, and I'll post the recording of this video onto YouTube. All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.